warm welcome to Maker FM, a special podcast series that we're doing in partnership with the Maker Bhavan Foundation. When you think of India, do you necessarily think about hardware? Maybe there is a sense that India is a software first economy. But can software alone carry India to the next phase as it aims to become a 5 trillion economy? Maybe hardware can be that catalyst. Think robotics or medical devices or autonomous vehicles for that matter. Can India's education system play a vital role in making hardware a more prominent frontier for this country? What actually changes the cultural narrative for India to celebrate its future hardware innovation? To explain it all, please help me welcome Mr. Ajai Chowdhry, co-founder of HCL Technologies. Ajay, it's my sheer pleasure and privilege to have you on this podcast. You are somebody who does not necessarily need any introduction. You are the one with the Padma Bhushan for your contribution in the Indian technology space. You have been called the father of the Indian hardware industry. I think it would be a good idea to start the conversation with you with this entire narrative that we have that there seems to be some bit of a software obsession. I mean, you are somebody who began HCL in 1976. That is when you co founded it with 5 people. It's really been donkey years now. Coming to where we are right now, do you think, in the mind of young engineers, do you think it's that the right thinking to begin with this software obsession? And perhaps that would set the context and ball rolling in the right direction, and we can take it further from there.
The challenge that I have seen in the last 10, 15 years is that we have very strongly moved away from engineering to computer science. And all that has happened because of the sheer success of the software industry. So all children and their parents are all thinking computer science. But the world is changing. India is changing. See, till now, India was a services country, and which software occupied a very major portion. And without software, we really wouldn't have been a country which would have been successful, because that has really created the impetus in this country for jobs as well as positioning worldwide. But if I start to look at now and the future, it's quite clear that our dependence on services alone needs to change. Because as a country, if we want to break away from being a middle income country, we need to take a new direction in terms of our policy, in terms of our economic policy. And so my view is that, and a view of few others whom I work with, is that India must move to be a product nation. And if we want to be a product nation, what is required in education is more engineering capability rather than just computer science capability. And therefore, this whole obsession of taking up only computer science in all engineering institutes, including IITs, needs to change. Because the future is about products. And if these products, when I describe to you what I mean by products, these are all products where you need deep engineering and R&D. Computer science is like English. It's like another piece that will be there for everything that we make. Software will be part of every product that we make. But the heart of every product has to be hardware and engineering. Now, if we start to look at any product out there, whether we look at IT hardware, we look at networking, we look at telecom products, we look at consumer products in electronics, every product needs engineering and R&D to be developed. And our future as a country lies in being a product nation. So we need to make products, whether they are drones, whether they are spacecraft, whether they are two-wheeler EVs, or they are electronic products. All these are products. Now, when I start to look at all these products, what is the common element there? The common element there is electronic hardware and software, but a majority of it is electronic hardware. So you cannot run an electrical vehicle without being into hardware. If you look at a four-wheeler today, a four-wheel car, electric car, is a computer on four wheels. What does it have? It could have hundreds or thousands of microprocessors. It could have hundreds of sensors and a whole bunch of software. So it is the hardware part of it is super critical. Till now, as a country, we have ignored the hardware part completely. Now the time has come for us to start to look at the world very differently. And why is that? Because you look at the changes that are happening in geopolitics today. Trump has come in. Everybody is on their own now. Suddenly, when Trump came, he says, you can't, when Biden even left, he passed an edict saying you can't ship more than so many GPUs to India. Suddenly, when AI started happening, we saw control by the US, and now suddenly it's all changed to China and the US. The war between China and US is happening. We cannot be left behind. We need to have our own strategic autonomy. For strategic autonomy, what is essential is that we must have our own technology. So therefore, the next 15 to 20 years of India should be about technology and science rather than anything else. And therefore, hardware becomes a central part of all of this.
Thanks for that, sir. And that sort of beautifully explained and sort of really sets the ball rolling in the right direction. You said that India now has to move from a very computer science mindset to becoming a product nation. And the first step towards that definitely begins from the school, your engineering college, and that is where the engineering education comes as part of the STEM education. So I have to ask you, do you think that has hardware design been given the same level of prioritization, the same level of importance or success in India compared to software, which perhaps has formed the impression on the young minds that software is just better? Do you think perhaps the problem lies somewhere in the narrative building, the media positioning, or just the headlines? Why is the intent not being translated into a tangible reality when it comes to students?
You see, the way I look at it is the STEM education itself is not product oriented. It is very theoretical. They teach you microprocessors, they teach you hardware, but they don't teach you how to make a product. So electronics engineering should have a content in the courseware itself, in the curriculum itself, on making products. And unless each and every engineering institute in the country teaches people to make products, it is not going to change. And once they start to learn how to make a product, then you need to create many startups around education institutions who will then start to make and design products for India and the world. See, today, if you look at it, we as a country are completely dependent on China for products. Every product and every chip comes from China. We don't make a thing. We used to have a very vibrant electronics industry when we started HCL. We used to design our own products. We have designed computers at the same time when Apple introduced its computer. So it's not that we were far behind, but we have forgotten those things. And over the last 15, 20 years, government policy has been not to support hardware, but just to support software. And the other issue that I see is that in 2015, the government came up with something called the World Trade, they signed the World Trade Organization ITA agreement, in which duties were made zero. As a result of that, the electronics industry in India died. Now that needs revival. And that's something that I'm working on. I've created a foundation whose full-time job is to make India a hardware product nation. And therefore, I've been working with the government to try and convince them to look at something like this in a very serious way. So for strategic autonomy, for being on our own 2 feet, We need to make our own system products and chip products. Both need to be made in India.
Thanks for that, sir. You spoke about the fact that the way engineering is taught in this country is very, very theory oriented. And do you think this entire concept of maker spaces could be a step in the right direction in terms of inculcating that sense of actually building something with both hands? Really, sir, how is it different from the engineering that you did? I mean, you co-founded HCL way back. You think the engineering then was perhaps more products oriented than it is now?
Well, in my college, at the in the final year, you had to make a product. All that has been put to rest, and nobody today has that in their curriculum. So Makers Bhavan, to my mind, is the right initiative to be taken. Because when I went through the details of Makers Bhavan and I saw kids making products, I think that is really where we need to take STEM education towards. But Maker Bhavan is just a small part of the whole issue. We need to make sure that the curriculum all over the country for engineering changes. And I have had good discussions with AICT chairman on this issue. They are just launching a productization program where they will teach students how to make products. So that's going to be outside the curriculum. But I am now pursuing with them that they should include products into their core curriculum, whether it is electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, etc., etc. And what is required for a product ecosystem today is multiple engineering activities. It is not just electronics or hardware. It could be mechanical for the cabinet, plastics for the cabinet, for the product. It could be thermal design, which could be all mechanical. It could be, PCBs to be made electronics, chips to be made semiconductors. So wherever you look, you have multiple engineering streams that will come into play as we become a product nation. Today, what is happening is that in the last 15, 20 years, as a country, we have become a trader country. We go to China, we pick up a product, put a logo on it, and sell it in India. Is that what we need to do in a large country like us? Today, let me give you an example. Today, there are close to 1,700 global competency centers in this country. A lot of them make products for the world sitting here. Intel makes its chips here. NVIDIA makes its chips here. You name it. Cisco makes its products here. Microsoft makes its products here. You just name it. Every product is today made by Indians in India, but we don't own a single IP. All IP resides in America or the other countries. That is not good. We are, in a manner, just getting jobs and paying income tax. But we are not retaining any IP in India. And therefore, for the future, when we are in a unipolar world where everybody is on their own, tomorrow China decides that they will not export X or Y or Z. America decides, I will not send you GPUs. What are you going to do? So these kind of situations have occurred in the past. We have seen atomic energy, we were not allowed to get technology. Space, we were not allowed to get technology. What did India do? India created its own space technology and atomic energy. And we became self-sufficient. So when you're forced into a situation, you do it. But even before you get forced into a situation, we should anticipate that these kind of things are likely to happen in this unipolar world. So therefore, we now need very deeply to start working on creating products. And therefore, hardware becomes an extremely important part of that piece, because hardware and software are going to be part of every product. You name one product where there is no hardware or software.
No, absolutely. And so I think you're bang on. When you say that everything is produced in China, we are not producing a thing, I'm just putting a label to it. I think there is some merit to that statement. We have produced so many unicorns. But can we name on our fingertips 10 unicorns which are deep product led, which are deep manufacturing led coming out of India? I mean, there have been waves. First came the wave of Infosys, the likes of Excel Technologies, then came the wave of consumer internet, the likes of Flipkart. Now we're seeing the Zeptos and the Blinkits. So where is the product innovation really happening? whilst there's so much capital chasing the country, the sheer amount of capital obsession that we have, what is really missing in the entire conversation when it comes to product innovation?
So, things are changing. Uh, I have been talking about this all over the country that we need to become a product nation, and I have published many notes on this. I've written many articles on this. It's now coming to centerpiece. Slowly, people are starting to understand that that's where we should be. The challenge has been that everybody is in the follow mode. Okay, we are followers. I mean, if you want to be followers, then how can we create a country which is different from any other country? If we want to lead and if we want to be successful by 2047 and make a 25, 30 trillion economy, it's not going to happen on services alone. It has to have product and services. You look at China, 90% is commodities and 10% is services. In our country, 60% is services, 40% is commodities. How can we survive like this? So therefore, it is essential that startups start to look at completely new areas in which to invest. And the good news is it's happening. So, if you look at space tech, there are 500 startups. You look at medtech, there are close to 300, 400 startups. You look at two-wheeler EVs, hundreds of startups. You look at drones, again, many startups. All these are product companies. And deep tech is a funny word. You can call anything deep tech and you don't know what is deep tech. As far as I'm concerned, anything that involves deeper R&D is deep tech. Okay. So that is where interesting things are happening. If you look at the services mindset and start to look at the product mindset, what have we created in the last 10 years? We have created DPI. DPI is a world-beating product. Is there anything like UPI available in America? No. Right. Then you start to look at Covaxin. We created a world-beating product. WHO tried to stop it. They couldn't. But it was a world-beating product. What else did we create? We created the trains that are running today. They're all indigenous. Okay? Vande Bharat. Right? So and then you look at the software product companies that are coming up. Zoho today is a $1.5 billion product company. They're not doing services. So suddenly there has been quite a bit of movement in terms of software product companies. HCLs, if you look, HCL, within HCL, there is something called HCL software. They are $1.5 billion. So the movement towards products from services has started. But we now need to take a much bigger leap. And we need to make products in India. Actually, today, I'm chairman of the Quantum Mission in India, National Quantum Mission. Our direction to all scientists has been, I'm not interested in your writing papers. I want you to make products. I want you to make a quantum computer. I want you to make sensors which can be applied. I want you to make communication products which will take care of quantum quantum problems as a quantum computer comes around. So the direction towards products has begun. And startups, you'll be surprised, in quantum alone, there are 109 startups. And they're all working on products. So the product journey has started in the country, but we need to enable it. And that enablement has to come from education, which is what is missing today.
So I agree with you, sir, that perhaps when I compare the ratio of product versus non-product, the non-product companies would have still fares higher. A lot of these direct-to-consumer kind of companies. I mean, what you said that was completely bang on. That there is intentionality and that there is capital, but perhaps the pressures are not there to get into the product space. You think the perfect kind of storm is kind of missing when there was this entire back office scenario that happened, when emphasis was born, a lot of IT majors were born because of the outsourcing way. You think because of the geopolitical condition that we have right now, it has given birth to a perfect storm like condition that we are very well attuned to really build more product led startups out of the country?
You see, it's already happened because of all the directions that are coming on AI and hardware. US put sanctions on GPUs, right? China has put sanctions on not exporting fertilizers. China has put sanctions on not exporting parts for EVs. So a lot of these things are happening. And if we don't wake up, it's a wake-up call for us. When AI started to happen 2 years ago, OpenAI CEO came to India and I was watching him. And he made a very strong statement. He says, forget about making another foundation model. You guys can't do it. Well, China woke up and did it. And I wrote about 3-4 weeks ago that we better wake up and make our own AI models. And the government has now announced that they're going to create a foundation model LLM within the next 6 to 12 months. And I can tell you our software companies are quite capable of doing that. Now, I went to the minister about 10 months ago and I told him, I said, look, time has come for us to start making India a hardware product nation. And he agreed with me. So he formulated a task force, which I was part of. We've written a report now, which was submitted to the government 3 months ago. And in that report, we have said, put out 44,000 crores and give funding to startups to make products. And it should be top down. It should not be let startups make any product. We should list the number of products. So what we did was we made a list of 30 hardware system products and 30 chips. And we said, these are required in India for our development, for our needs. Otherwise, they'll be 100% import dependent all the time. So this report is under consideration. Okay. So suddenly startups will start to get funding. But the good news is in this budget, there is 10,000 crores put out by the government on fund of funds for startups. There's another 20,000 crores put away for deep tech startups, which are all going to be product oriented, no more services. And then in addition to that, 1 lakh crore was sanctioned by the government last year to set up get R&D done in India for products. And for that, this budget also has 20,000 crores sanctioned and put away into Department of Science and Technology. So a lot of money is available. As you said in the beginning, money is available. The direction is not there. Now the direction is also coming because we are creating all these strategies from the government to promote hardware startups. And many years ago, MeitY had set up 4 or 5 centers where hardware startups were created. So, for example, one was created as an Electropreneur Park in Delhi University. That Electropreneur Park created more than 150 startups in hardware. They were also having 60, 70 patents. So all this is something that has started happening. And because today there is a global need for a trusted source of products. See, till yesterday, the Europeans and the Americans were happily buying Chinese products. But today, there is an issue of trust. And this trust is something that India can provide as a differentiator. So startups should start to look seriously at creating products because funding is not a problem, market is not a problem. The world is waiting for us to make products and they want a replacement for China. China plus one has been talked about for a while. I think it's called, I call it China plus two. One was only manufacturing. Two is design and manufacture. And that is where we should go because there's such a large opportunity.
So that's very well put, sir. I mean, you're very passionate about what you have built in this entire hardware narrative. When we speak with startup founders, one common problem or pain point that they often talk about is lack of good engineers. Lack of engineers having a very product focused mindset. Do you think that the real solution is in the colleges, STEM engineering, an integral mindset shift? How do we get that? I mean, look at China. I mean, these Chinese kids, they created a banger product in DeepSeek, which actually set the alarm bells ringing, and there was 100 billion sell-off on the markets. I mean, these kind of numbers can actually tangibly move the GDPs of countries up and down. So I have to understand from someone like you, who would actually make a very excellent professor, that if you were to sort of really change the engineering education in this country, an opportunity to modify the STEM education to make it more experiential, what were the 5 or 6 key things that you would like to imbibe in the curriculum itself?
Well, I've been a professor. I was a founder chairman of IIT Hyderabad, and I created an entrepreneur program there, entrepreneurship program, which is a minor in entrepreneurship, which you can pick up with any engineering stream that you're doing. And I taught for 7 years. So I know what it is all about. I think the aspect of curriculum is extremely essential. But in that curriculum, we need to create around every institute and top institutes an ecosystem. And this ecosystem will bring the product mindset to the country. What do I mean by this ecosystem? Around every top engineering institute, we should have a startup village and a design village. And this startup village and design village, it should be deeply connected to the professors in the institute, the PhD students in the institute. And these PhD students and professors should actually participate in design companies and startups and help create products. And initially, they'll have to give the kickstart. If they don't give exactly the way the Electropreneur Park happened in Delhi University, I then enabled it to move to Triple IT Delhi, and it's flowering there. Their professors are founders also. The professors are coming and telling startups how to do, what to do. The PhD students are working with startups. This is an ecosystem that we need to create. And it is just not education alone, it's the full ecosystem. And this ecosystem, if we can create at 50 or 50 universities, then 100 universities, then 200 universities, India will be a product nation.
So, do you think the real change has to go beyond the IITs? I mean, if there has to be impact on the larger scale, it can't be just relegated to IITs. We have to speak to, say, the IIT Misra in Ranchi, Engineering Institute in Mysore, and so on. Because if we talk to IITs, we're just talking about, say, top 1 or 2%, the cream de la cream that gets there anyways.
You see, too much focus on IITs in the country. Everybody thinks that only IITians can do X, Y, Z. That's not true. Somebody did some research on this investor in Bombay, and he said the top people in many companies in India today have come from tier 2 cities. And they said that it's more than tier 1, and it is more than IIT people. So this research shows that it is not just IITians, it could be any institute. Let me tell you what happens. Take a normal engineering college in Jabalpur, or take a normal engineering college in any other city in India. They have much higher hunger. Once you reach IIT, you're made. But when you reach a Jabalpur engineering college, you're not made. You need to work harder. Hertz used to have this campaign. We are number 2, we work hard. So that's what is India all about today. The Bharat is happening now. And people from smaller cities are doing many great things. I was with Professor Chunjunwala in IIT Madras, and he was telling me all the new startups that are working with him are from tier 2 companies. So it's quite amazing. They're not from IIT, although he's in IIT. So it's that's happening.
So, sir, we're getting towards the end of this conversation, but if I have to ask you one thing, that if you were to do a dispatch to these new, young, impressionable minds who are beginning their careers, how will they navigate their careers for the new India that is emerging? How should they do that? how should them and their parents shrug off from this mindset and thinking that take a computer science job, then take a consulting job at BCG or Bain, go to the US, come back? I mean, that sort of mindset is actually kind of not helping this country to move in a forward direction. And perhaps that is where the change can happen. How do we shrug off from this mindset?
I think the first issue to my mind is having pride for your own country. And that is something that should be imbibed in every institute. We always have this fascination to go to rest of the world. Let me tell you, the world is becoming very difficult for Indians. In the US, they don't like brown people next door. In Canada, there's a serious problem. In the UK, if you're a brown and you're wearing some expensive watch, your watch will be taken away in the next 4 hours. So the world is no longer that open to Indians as it used to be till last year or 2 years ago. There is a huge change taking place. And with Trump coming in, the change will be much, much more. And opportunities for Indians will reduce globally. So I think the only way they can survive is to be in India and create things of their own for the world. See, if GCCs can come to India and create products for the world, why can't Indians create products for the world? So that is the change that we need to think. And this whole bhed chal of going only on computer science has to stop, because we must be clear. AI is coming, automation has come in, software is going to have headwinds. And if we just remain totally focused on software, we will not survive. You see, for example, in HCL, our base was hardware, then we got into software. Therefore, what has HCL done? Diversification. What have they done? They have got product as a 1.4 billion industry piece. They also have created an engineering and R&D export unit, which was the first company in the country to do that. Today, it's a very thriving business. So it is all about engineering. We design chips for the world. We design products for the world. We are designing for the rest of them. Why can't we design for ourselves? So I think this whole mantle has to be taken up by education institutions. And with the support of organizations like makers, I think people can start to think more about products, and we'll give them inputs on how to make it happen. I think the world is out there waiting for India to be a trusted product nation. And it is incumbent on us to actually create that. Let's take semiconductor chips. Right? You import from China today. Do you know any chip can have backdoors into it? When you have backdoors into it, all the data goes back to China. So how secure are you if you are using only Chinese chips? Look at all CCTVs in India, all Chinese. That means that China has all information on all our roads and streets. Our attendance machines in every government office in Delhi are Chinese. All the data has gone back to China. So that means they know all the officers in the government. Is that the right way for us to be there? No. Our parents need to be taught also. So I think the engineering institute should have an outreach to parents to say, world is changing. Don't be dependent just on computer science. Engineering itself is coming back in a big way. And we must start to make products for the world.
That's very, very beautifully put. So it's kind of a renaissance, if you will, especially the time when the new world order is emerging, and we really can't be toying with the old ways, like you sort of very, very beautifully pointed out. So, sir, I have to put you in the hot seat now and play a bit of a rapid fire with you. If you were to be telling me the most overhyped technology according to you, what would that be?
AI.
Okay, sir, if you were stuck in an elevator with Sam Altman, how will the communication look like for 2 minutes?
I will tell him that I can do better than you.
Absolutely, sir. I have no doubt about that. I also want to ask you that you have done so much in your life. You're such a proud Indian. If you were to tell me the highest point in your career, what would that be?
Oh, that's so many points. So many things. It's not just one. I guess the recognition by the country for my Padma Bhushan was absolutely the biggest thing that happened to me. But I think more than that, the response that I get from startups with whom I have worked together. I've invested in about 70 startups. And the kind of response I get from these startups, some of them just ring me up after 10 years of having been founded and say, sir, what you taught me, I am doing much better because of that. So I've been able to take my product to the world. I'm so happy that you actually helped me and mentored me. To me, that is the best thing that's happened to me.
Okay, sir, if you will tell me the lowest point in your career which actually really got you thinking and do some introspection, what would that be?
My lowest point was somewhere around the year 2000 when the country was in bad shape. We had no foreign exchange. We had to survive at that time. At that time, all our business was just hardware, which means we had to import all our components. And that particular period was very, very tough. So we then came out of that and we created a software piece, which is HCL Technologies. So we had both hardware and software, and we were not dependent only on imports. So, that was a very low period when company barely survived.
How can I get that thinking that one cannot prosper if the country you are born is not doing well? I mean, how does one imbibe that thinking that being a young professional, how can you be successful? And how can I be successful if a country, my beloved country, is not successful?
You see, making the country successful is the job of all of us. And if we are successful, the country will be successful. So when I wrote my book last year, previous year, which I published, it was called Just Aspire. Why did I call it Just Aspire? It was based on the teachings of my guru, Dr. C.K. Prahlad, who always used to say, A is greater than R. And what does A greater than R mean? If you have the aspiration, resources will happen. And that's why I called it Just Aspire. So my view is that anybody who has the aspiration, whether they have money, they don't have money, they don't have people, they don't have this, they don't have that, it will happen. When HCL started, we had 1.86 lakhs. We needed a license to make a computer. We had nothing. But from 1.86 lakh, we have created a $14 billion company. And that's a great example of A is greater than R. So I tell all my startups, I said, just keep this in mind. If you have the aspiration, resources will happen. Don't think I can't get this scientist, I can't get this engineer, I can't get this product guy. Guys, things happen. When we started hardware business, there was nothing called products. We created those people.
That is so incredible. I mean, the more I talk to you, the more inspired I feel. I can actually feel that passion and that enthusiasm, that unwavering enthusiasm, almost infectious, that you have. We spoke about Renaissance, the New World Order emerging, just given the sheer amount of passion that you have for a product building nation. So, if you were to say, leave the stage for some time, what would be that undesired, fulfilled dream that you have for this country? Something which you will really want to fulfill at the end of the day?
Today, that would be making that state a product state. When I went to Karnataka, when I went to Tamil Nadu, I told them, I said, look, don't live in the past. You guys are just looking at software and services. What's wrong with you? Karnataka has the greatest engineers who can design things. Tamil Nadu has the same thing. They can design hardware, they have chip designers, they have all kinds of designers, but they don't do products. They're still trying, how can I get another HCL in software? How can I get Infosys? How can we get more software companies? I think that is history. We now need to create completely different states. We need to create a state that's a product state that has higher value addition. See, the software margins are coming down. When we started hardware, the software, the margins were 60%. Today, they're down to 20%. The competition has increased. The margins are going down. There's so much, headwinds to software and services today. Time has come for us to make IP in India where we can enjoy 40 to 60% margins, which is what Apple does. Apple designs products. They don't make them, but their margins are 60%, 70%. They have a brand which can never die. So, these things is what we need to create. We need to create global brands out of India. My dream is that this country, 20 years from now, we should have 5 companies which are among the top 5 in the world in different areas.
This was incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversations. We unraveled so many points, starting from STEM education to your own experiences, the dispatch on geopolitics, and how this is such an untapped opportunity for this country, and how the policymakers should make good of it to really build a product first nation. So maybe the time has come to make hardware the next cool thing India is synonymous with. And like Mr. Chaudhry said, are we going to have students from STEM which can actually build and manufacture the solutions that address the world's most pressing challenges? Can we create the conditions to make this inevitable? Until we see you again, goodbye and good luck. And thank you, sir, for joining us. It was incredible having you.
Thank you.